back here on the Rich Eisen Show, along with Steven Jackson, the co-host of a tremendous show and podcast, highly successful, All the Smokes. Matt Barnes here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Matt?
Good, Rich. Good to be back. I like your name tag. It's dope.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I need to get myself one.
It says best dad ever.
Yes, I love it.
How many years in a row has this been? I think 6 years in a row. 6 Father's Days ago, I got this.
There you go.
Well, as you know, Mother's Day, they
get everything.
Everything, and I got. I think the price tag's still on the back here. Kids didn't even take the price tag off. Well, geez, would you want to guess how much this costs?
$9.99.
No, sir.
$27.
What do you think?
$27.
What do you get? TJ Jefferson's the one who's been on the prices, right? Go for it. Close without going over.
I'm going to say $25, Drew.
Oh, it's $24.95. I'm so sorry. What? I'm so sorry.
Well, if I was back on Price is Right, I would have dropped it down.
Well,
ridiculous.
You didn't actually win the showcase when you were on the Price is Right.
Why you got to bring up old stuff in front of Matt Barnes?
I'm giving you all the smoke.
Hey.
Thank you very much. Matt Barnes is here. Boy, there's a ton of, I guess, connective tissue between your playing career and what we're seeing playing out right now.
Man.
I mean,
firsthand.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you were on the last Warriors team to be down 0-2 in the playoffs.
Yes, 07.
You were on the Kings teams that used to make the playoffs prior to this one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Mike Brown was the coach of the Lakers team.
And Golden State. Remember, because Steve Kerr had some back issues.
That's
so
right.
He coached a little bit during that 17 championship run.
Right. And obviously you were on your last championship ring was with the Warriors. So there's lots, there's lots of you to connect.
Lots going on.
But let's just jump into the Draymond Green, who's been suspended for Game 3. What can you help us compute? A lot of NBA fans can help us compute.
I think
here.
this is a reputation suspension. And I was some guy who had a reputation, and I remember where I would push someone and get a 2-game suspension. I'm like, I pushed them, and they're like, well, you have a bad reputation. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's how that kind of works. So, obviously I was there. I was calling the game that night. First and foremost, I think it's no mystery. Sabonis shouldn't have grabbed his foot.
Right.
How you react when someone grabs your foot, only you know in that moment. I don't know if there's anything else he could have did. He chose to do what he did, and I knew that would obviously raise a lot of eyebrows because it's him. And then I think maybe some of the antics while they were looking at the tape and him running over and clapping and getting into it with the crowd. And if I'm understanding too, Mr. Silver was in the crowd that night too. So I think the flagrant 2 should have been enough. I don't think he should have been suspended for this game. But again, I think this is a reputation suspension.
Well, I mean, my thought again is, as you just point out too, Matt, is you never know what you're going to do until your ankle is grabbed.
Right.
And so, but to me, Draymond's been around enough to know. As a matter of fact, just if I'm not mistaken, 2 possessions before he got a reputational foul called on him that Kerr challenged and got overturned.
Yeah.
And so he knows that that kind of should have put him on notice. And if he had played the victim in the moment, right? And I know victim is it's an infused word, but if he had just went down like a ton of bricks because Sabonis had grabbed him, Sabonis would have gotten the flagrant.
Yeah.
The Warriors would have kept the possession they had just earned in a 1-possession game. Instead, he stomped on him.
And my thing, I mean, obviously Draymond is a friend of mine, a brother of mine, and
so help us help
it's
us
hard.
out.
It's kind of hard to navigate this from a standpoint of, again, he's great at kind of mucking stuff up. You know what I mean? And that doesn't take away from his talent, but he's just always been able to live on that edge and sometimes cross it. And that's been his biggest gift. And to me, sometimes his biggest curse, because he is so instrumental to that team. And it's not always the numbers that are going to jump off the page to you. I mean, I think he had 11 assists in game 1, which is huge for a center or a power forward, but it's the little things he does and the glue guy and be able to switch on anybody and keep him in front. And, obviously it could have possibly been a different outcome if he didn't get kicked out of that game, So in the moment, we want to look at the big picture like, come on, Draymond, you should have known better. But in the moment, in a rowdy environment, his emotions got the best of him. And again, it's unfortunate. And I think it should have only been for that game.
Yes.
The NBA chose otherwise, and now they're at a huge disadvantage going home 0-2 without him.
So then, again, one last attempt at having you speak for another human being who you care about. And I'm flat out going to, start this question with that admission. Do you think there's part of him that is regretting that he's not going to play in this game?
1,000%. 1,000%. Because he knows how important he is to the team, and he knows how important this game is. I mean, look, the Kings had a great season this year, but everyone wanted to know if it was real. Everyone like, okay, we want to play that 3 seed. Everyone was talking about we want to play them.
Yes.
And now, the Warriors are in a series with a team that doesn't have very much experience, but is hungry. I mean, I'm calling all their games, and game 2 to me, the Kings came out like they were the team that lost game 1.
Yes.
They were faster to the punch. They were more aggressive. They were getting downhill. They were playing harder. And then again, obviously the Warriors have a ton of experience. So this series is far from over. If Golden State handles business at home, Sacramento just has to win at home to finish the series out. So it's going to be really interesting. But you never want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be at a disadvantage, and it doesn't have to do with injury. No, you're at a disadvantage now because you made a bad decision. So that's definitely going to hurt their team. But again, Golden State has a ton of championship experience and pedigree. They've been down in the past, and we're going to have to see what this team is about.
So knowing them as well as you do and calling the games, what are they thinking right now, do you think?
I think they need to find a way to get Jordan Poole playing better. He's a liability out there. He scored
defensively. Is he a liability?
I think every time on the defensive end, Sacramento sets enough screens that he's guarding the person with the ball. So that's first and foremost. But then I just think 2 shot selection sometimes, and then being really too loose with the ball. Mm-hmm. I think the Warriors' turnovers are kind of their Achilles heel, and they have been the entire season. And you'll accept it from Steph because Steph is Steph. But you can't have Jordan Poole coming out there and just throwing the ball around the court, understanding the importance of every single possession. He got a huge contract, and a lot of responsibility comes with that. He had 17 in the first game, but only 4 in the second game. And they need him to step up and be that 20-point. And he doesn't have to play above what he's been doing. He just has to play what he's been doing. I think he needs to be in that 18 to 22 range, for them to have a chance, because Sacramento is hungry and they see blood in the water, and they want to prove everyone wrong, because everyone thought, they were the 3 seed, but they were the underdogs coming into this series.
Right.
So, they got a little chip on their shoulder.
Well, and that's why I started yesterday's show. Obviously, when Draymond Green is ever involved in anything in a game as significant as the one he was playing in, we in the media will just talk about Draymond Green nonstop. Mm-hmm. Certainly when he's, on the defending champions as well. But that's why I wanted to start. I started yesterday's show talking about the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, it overshadows. I think, Charles, not to cut you off, Charles said that too. It's overshadowing, how good the Kings have been playing.
Yeah. I mean, so because I was saying this, and you can help us out on the subject matter. Matt Barnes here on the Rich Eisen Show is name me another player in the NBA who's faster with his first step, faster to the rim, with a deadly outside shot, and is also as brash and not know what he doesn't know right now as De'Aaron Fox.
This clutch player of the year, the first recipient of the award. And, to start, I started doing stuff with Sacramento last year and always saw his talent. He's been able to score with the best of them since since we've known about him at Kentucky. But I think this year is where he took the jump from a standpoint of leadership, understanding if you're that fast with the ball, you could be that fast on defense. So he stepped up on the defensive end. And then also the ability to have the ball in your hands so much, set your players up, understanding that if I get Herter going, if I get Monk going, if I get Keegan Murray open, the court's going to be wide open for me.
Yes.
And now I have one of the best duos with Sabonis, and they've just really found their chemistry. So as an individual, his game has took tremendous strides, and it's not necessarily on the scoring side. He's always been able to score with the best of them, but I think he's become a complete player now. He competes on the defensive end. He gets his teammates involved, and he's that vocal leader I feel like this team has lacked in the last handful of years.
What has Mike Brown brought to the equation, do you think?
Everything. Belief. I think he set a foundation for this team. This team was directionless, leaderless organization. With all due respect, I can say the same thing kind of about the organization. And, you got to give credit to Vivek, and then, hiring the right management and trusting in Monty McNair and his crew, and then, hiring Mike Brown. We had Mike Brown my second year with the Lakers after Phil retired. And it was just a night and day, and it was a train wreck. It just didn't work. Different philosophies, different styles, different approaches. But I think Mike went to Golden State and honed his skills and learned a lot, and couldn't have been a better hire for this team. I mean, obviously he's a defensive-minded guy, but he took that offense and took it to the next level in Sacramento. But the one thing I knew early in this season, when the Kings started doing well and you'd hear the players talk, they would always say something about Mike. And as a player, I knew, okay, they've bought into Mike and they believe in Mike, and they're going to go wherever Mike will take them. And Mike understands that, and he's done a great job with this young group.
Matt Barnes here on the Rich Eisen Show. Everybody should check out All the Smoke, obviously through Showtime, and where all podcasts can be acquired. He and Steven Jackson with a hugely popular show right here on the Rich Eisen Show, and we'll get to some of the stories that you and Stephen have gotten out of your tremendous guests shortly here on the program. Which team, though, do you think is the best right now?
In the whole playoffs?
In the whole playoffs, the whole shooting match.
That's tough, man.
What do you got for me?
I think the West is wide open. I think
because of Morant's injury, because do you think the Nuggets can be had the way the Lakers are playing?
See, when I coming into this, I thought that the top three seeds were susceptible. Denver hasn't proven it to me personally. Memphis is young and they have a lot of outside noise, and you can slide with that during the regular season. During the playoffs, you got to be locked in, and then Sacramento's inexperienced. So I even thought before the Morant injury that they were going to have their hands full with the Lakers because of the lack of depth on that front line. They lose Brandon Clark. They lose Steven Adams. Triple J, Defensive Player of the Year, shout out to him, but he gets in foul trouble sometimes.
Yes, he does.
So if AD gets him in foul trouble, who's going to be down on that front line? So I thought they were going to have their hands full in the first place. So the Clippers, if they had Paul George, who's to say with this they could be up 2-0 right now. I love the way the rest book has been playing. Kawhi is showing people why he rests during the regular season. Because he's a monster in the playoffs. I mean, arguably, I heard the man back here, TJ, say that there's no question he's a top 5 player, and he's not 5. When he's on the court, there's not too many people better than him, both sides, the way he affects the game. This Kings team, you just got to get hot at the right time in the playoffs, and they have a lot of belief in themselves right now. So the West, who knows? And then the East is interesting from a standpoint of, I think Giannis, whether he plays tonight or not, they're going to get through this series, but a lingering back issue going forward throughout these playoffs, as we all know, it's only going to get tougher. So then you turn your head to Boston, and Boston is tough, and they've been there last year, and they felt like they should have won last year. They go through a bunch of crazy stuff with their coach in the offseason. New coach comes in, does his thing. I think Robert Williams is going to be a big part of their success moving forward. They're going to need him to be healthy. They're going to need him to get minutes.
And lean on Embiid?
I say all that to say, I don't know, and I think that's what makes it great. Normally we know who is going to be there, who's going to win, and I think the Eastern Conference might be a little bit easier to guess. With all due respect to, I think there's 3 teams there. I think it's Milwaukee, Boston, and Philly in that order. But to me, Boston can leapfrog if Giannis is not 100%. And then the West is wide open. It's whoever stays healthy and whoever gets hot.
Whoever stays healthy and whoever gets hot. At the end of last night's Suns-Clippers game, did you see Paul and Kawhi sort of bump shoulders without making eye contact?
I like it.
Would you want to? Can you decipher that? Can you interpret that moment for me? What
was that playoff moment? Basketball. And Rich, I came in the early 2000s where it wasn't about buddy being friends. You know what I mean? If we would have seen this back in the late 90s or 80s, like, we wouldn't even cared. There could have been some punches thrown after that. But I think that everyone is so buddy now that when people are about their business, like both of those men are, it's a big deal. Like, no, they bump each other. They don't have to say hi. They don't have to acknowledge each other. Like, they're going to war right now, and may the best team win. And then you also see someone like Russ and KD kind of somewhat get into it during the game, and then after the game, they dap each other up. So you just never really know what guys' minds are. But if my homeboy's on that other team and we're going to war against each other, I'm fine with not talking to him the entire series.
Did you do that when you played?
Yeah. Like I said, we could be very cool after the game or after the series, but we want to win right now, and I think that's all it was. I don't think those guys hate each other. I'm talking about Kawhi and Chris, but I know they both want to win.
Was Kobe that way with his teammates too?
Absolutely. You said with his teammates too, yeah.
That's what I mean.
You don't bring it, and he won't even say, he'll just stare at you, or not say nothing to you.
What do you mean?
If you're not bringing it, about the Mamba stare. You know what I mean? It's just that he'll burn a hole through you with his eyes. You know what I mean? He never really had to burn no holes through me because I was always with it. But there were some other teammates that, that wouldn't play up to their abilities or he felt were scared or had bad games. And he would give you that look. But that look was enough to snap you out of whatever BS you were in and be ready to go the next game.
But you were never on the business end of the Mamba stare.
No. We were on the same page. I mean, Kobe was my guy. He knew I was ready to run through a wall. So,
my gosh. And again, you were on his final playoff team, by the way. Never made it back to the playoffs after that 2011, 2012 team.
You got to respect that, too, in a day and age where, one thing when Kobe used to talk was, I want to sit at the table with MJ, meaning he wanted that 6th ring. So we live in a league now where guys are jumping around. But the one thing I respected about Kobe was, he literally rode that ship until it sunk, and he rode his body until it nearly fell apart, and then gave us, one last 60 piece on his way out.
That's right.
And said,
what a night that was.
Right.
And then, that Laker team, I wrote it down here. You lost in 4 games. You lost in that series to Oklahoma City, which was Russ, Durant, and Harden is the 6th man.
Yeah, Perk. I think they had Big Perk. They had Serge Ibaka. They had a good team.
Man, oh, man. Yep, back in that day. Lost in 5 in round 2 to that team. And Durant's now playing, Russ. And Harden's in Philadelphia. Unbelievable. You just dropped the name. I don't care. Snoop, you were hanging with Snoop last night?
Oh, yeah. We got fortunate enough to shout out to FX. We saw Dear Mama.
How is it?
Great. We
Amazing.
saw the first 2 episods of a documentary that the Alan Hughes did about Afeni Shakur and kind of his Tupac's upbringing and just Afeni's life. So we got a chance to see Snoop there. And first thing he says, them Kings are looking good. I'm looking forward to Lakers Kings in the 2nd round. So that'll be interesting.
Kings in the 2nd round. Now, did you experience both sides of that playoff rivalry?
I know I've got a chance to. I was in college at that time.
Okay.
So I was from Sacramento, grew up a Showtime Laker fan, but obviously adopt the Kings once you move. I moved to Sacramento at 9 years old, so I'm repping the Kings at UCLA. Well, obviously the rest of the world is the Laker fans. So definitely looking forward to those. Are the good old days. Good old days.
But you did play with C-Webb though, right? Didn't you?
Yeah. So I was traded with Webb. When Webb got traded to Philly, that was my first year with Sac.
Okay.
So we were at a strip club in Dallas.
By the way, great way to start a story.
Yeah, man.
Great way to start this. That's a great story to start.
Found out.
That's when you found out?
I think we were headed there.
Oh, okay.
And we're like, forget it. Let's just go and have a blackout night. I don't know if everyone else followed through with the blackout night, but I followed through with the blackout night.
Okay.
And next thing you know, we wake up in Philly the day after, and I was just like, damn, what happened? I was just playing for my hometown team.
Yeah. Now you're in Philadelphia.
Cold game. It was freezing out there. I didn't own a jacket. It was all bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm a West Coast kid, so I didn't know nothing about it. I was wearing Chuck Taylors out there. Ground is freezing. I had to change my whole mentality when I went to Philly.
You learn fast, but you're adjusted. You're adaptable.
Yeah, I adapted by just keep my butt in the house.
Or you're not adaptable. Right. You just go straight to the strip club in Dallas, no matter about being traded. I love it. All the smoke with you and Steven Jackson. Now you're in year 4 of
year
it,
4,
right?
yeah, season 4.
Year 4, and Showtime's putting your stuff on TV.
Yes.
And you're enjoying it, having a blast?
Man, Rich, it's been amazing. Just the opportunity to have this platform has been a blessing. But then I think the caliber of guests, I was telling you before we started, we had a 6-week run where we had Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, and finished it off with Isaiah Thomas. And then right before Magic, we had Will Smith. So it's, the ability to, have a chance to sit down with people you grew up idolizing or former teammates. And my goal with that show is always creating an environment where they feel comfortable and humanizing these guys. Like, we know why Steph is a great shooter, but what is he like off the court, or KD or Magic or any of these people, Charles? I always want to show the fan base the other side of the people they love. And we've been pretty successful at doing that, man. So, yeah, shout out Jack and Showtime and everyone else behind the scenes that makes it go.
So who do you want on? Who do you and Steven want on that you haven't had on? You could wave a wand and they're amongst the smoke with you.
I would say like a Jay-Z, a Dr. Dre. My whole goal with this stuff is I want to transition into mainstream media. Like, I love sports to death, but I want to talk.
I see you on ESPN all the time. So,
but I'm talking about like outside of sports.
I got you.
Just media in general. Michael Strahan kind of path. So I just like talking to all different kind of people from different walks of life, different genres, different ethnicities, and just really talking about life. So, but if I had to choose 1 or 2 guys, it would probably be Jay-Z and Dr. Dre, or maybe a Jimmy Iovine. I saw Jimmy last night.
Can't Snoop help you with that too?
Yeah, but those guys are busy. Like, it's a thing where I kind of have to grab them. So yeah, maybe one day.
But you're Matt Barnes.
Yeah, but they're. I'm trying to climb. I'm down there.
Come on now. I mean, you can get these guys, I'm sure.
We got to get you.
Well, sold.
Got to get you.
Yes, I would be. Now, you said that the last time you were here.
Jack might have said that. I don't said that. Jack might have said that. But we're going to get you there. Don't put that one on me. That might have been Jack that said that.
I don't know. I mean, that was when you guys were on here to promote season 1.
That was the first. That was the beginning.
You're now in season 4.
We are.
You're not.
And you're not even far from us.
Now you're on pay cable, and now you're on my old haunt on ESPN. And now I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad that you're here. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise.
You just had White Chocolate on as well, Jason Williams.
We did a live show.
What's he up to?
Jay is, man, he's traveling the world and people are still loving him. And it was weird because he was so surprised by that. You know what I mean? I think he was
He was so incredibly
cultural
popular.
icon and a true crossover. When you talk about a crossover, you know, with the name White Chocolate, he was accepted everywhere he went. He was accepted.
Right.
But we were able to get him out to Sac because for All the Smoke, I knew how, although he played 3 years, I knew how much the Kings fans still loved him. And you know, when I tell you he was there for Game 1, you would have thought that the Beatles walked in the arena. Like, they went crazy when they saw Jay Will, and he was kind of surprised. And it's funny, we talked about it, and I said, why? Like, why are you so surprised? But he's traveling the world. You know, he just got back from the Philippines, and he's doing fantasy camps and still just, you know, getting paid good money to do basketball things.
What the hell was that like in that arena and then outside the arena after they won Game 1 in Sacramento?
I've been fortunate enough, you know, I caught Oracle Arena with the Western Finals with the Lakers Kings as a fan, and that was insane. I was at Oracle in 2007 when we beat Dallas, and Steve Kerr was commentating the game. Yeah. And he said, to this day, when I had him on my show, I had never heard a louder crowd than when you guys beat Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, fast forward, lucky enough to be in Golden 1 for Game 1 with the Warriors and the Kings. And Rich, that might have been the loudest environment I've ever been in.
Seriously.
So I did some morning media like at night. I did morning media like 8:45, get done by 9, and I'm staying at the hotel that's connected to the arena. So I'm walking back through.
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning. Kings fan painted in purple paint, not body paint, purple paint, drinking at 9 in the morning. I'm like, oh, they're gonna go. It's gonna be a nut house tonight. Brad Miller hits me up earlier that day. Hey, we're gonna be pre-partying at 1 o'clock at the Punch Bowl. I'm like, Brad, the game's not till 5:30. And I got to work. Oh, your loss. You know, people are just out there going. It's been 16 years, and I know how important winning basketball is to that town. The economy goes with the Kings. So, you know, I'm really happy for the city that they're back in the mix and have a good showing thus far.
Yeah, and so I know we were talking Kobe before about, you know, the Mamba stare to his teammates. What was the first time you met Kobe?
I got a chance to meet Kobe when I went to UCLA. Okay. So Kobe came to the Lakers in '96, if I'm not mistaken. I got to the UCLA in '98. And from everything I've heard, you know, there wasn't very much synergy early on with him, with his teammates, because he was so young. So he was always on campus at UCLA, always. Eating, walking around. He would work out in Poly.
Maybe he was missing the college experience.
Maybe just seeing what it was like in
LA.
And UCLA is no slouch, you know. So he was on our campus, kind of enjoying somewhat of the college life. And I remember I would sneak back into Poly and watch him train. I'm just like, God, this dude is incredible. I remember one time, I don't remember what season it was, but he broke his right hand. And he was in there with the cast doing everything. Remember the season he came back and he was shooting a lot of left-handed stuff. Like, how is he making this? I literally seen Kobe go through an entire workout with his right hand casted up, but him shooting and dribbling and playing like he was a left-handed player. And it was just like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. So I got a chance to meet him early on. Was just a fan. I wouldn't even say it was a friendship. We every time we saw each other, it was up. And got a chance to obviously make the NBA and just knew that I wanted to guard him. So it was just a mutual respect back and forth that it kind of culminated with the ball fake in Orlando in 2009, the 2009-10 season. Yeah. They ended up winning a championship that year. We lose to the Celtics in the Eastern Finals, and I'm a free agent. And I get a phone call from him, and don't know how he got my number, didn't believe it was him when he first called, and, you know, started talking about what I'm going to do and, you know, told me if anyone's crazy enough to F with me, it's crazy enough to play with me, do you want to be a Laker? I'm like, hell yeah. And like 4 days later, I was a Laker.
Kobe Bryant cold called you.
Cold called. Like, I didn't even have his number saved. I don't even answer my phone when I see the name. For some reason, I answered this California number when I was in Orlando, and it happened to be him.
And he said, you, unbeknownst to you, kind of sold yourself because you were crazy with him?
Crazy enough to F with me is crazy enough to play with me.
Well, I mean, I can assume. How did you F with Kobe?
It was just always a battle. And then, you know, that was the ball fake in Orlando that year. But it was just a back and forth game where, you know, Kobe was, I always tell people, obviously the physical display was on every single night. But the mental side was the side I got to know and love. And he was a sicko. And he would do everything he could to get that advantage. And him being Kobe, they weren't going to call much of it. So he would elbow you, grab you, pretty much do whatever he want to you. And I was just fed up, and I was ready to fight. It's funny, we talked. So we did his last interview as well. It was supposed to be a 2-part interview because we only got like 40 minutes with him. But we talked about that time where I said, forget, I was ready to fight you that night. You know what I mean? And the ball fake happened. But I guess he just liked that fire because you got to think the year before, him and Ron and Tess got into it. So he went and got Ron. And then the following year, he got into it with me. So he went and got me. So there was times where me, Kobe, and Ron would be on the floor at the same time. So we obviously wanted him to save his energy for offense and let me and Ryan handle all the dirt. But if someone would score 2 or 3 points on us or, a couple buckets on us, get out the way, I got him. Like he would be fighting with me and Ron because he wanted to guard the best player. But we wanted to guard the best player so he could save all his energy for offense. So just the ultimate competitor, went from a mutual respect to teammates to a brotherhood where we would, Kobe used to come to, my kids were 2 years younger than Gianna. We would both be coaching AAU, and we would talk the night before tournament. Hey, what time you play? We'd play sometimes 2 hours before they would play, and he would come watch my twins play. And they're only like 8 or 9 years old, so it's not like you're seeing any kind of breathtaking basketball. But the fact that he would come to a tournament 2 hours before to watch my kids just really meant a lot. He would always send them the newest shoes. Their team would always get the newest shoes, and we just really grew from an altercation that happened in the game.
Unbelievable. What a story, Matt Barnes. Yeah. And we on this show interviewed him, I think, about a month before you got him to sit down his final interview. And this is after LeBron had arrived here in L.A., and there was rumor that maybe he's going to come back and play with LeBron, right? And he said there was zero chance he would do that, and kind of was offended that, okay, I only know how to play basketball, huh? And he'd already gotten his Oscar in the case, and he was like trying for the EGOT. Yeah. He wanted to get an Emmy. He wanted to get a Tony. In the same way that you're talking about, you want to do more than just sports. Were you able ever to receive the praise from him about what you've become and what you're becoming?
He loved it. He gave it.
I'd imagine
he gave it to us on the show. I would have never thought you two. Never thought you two would have been doing what you're doing. But it's funny what you said about the basketball thing because he was so adamant. I remember before we got the interview, we went in his office and he was finishing this novel he was writing. He was writing these children novels
down in Orange County, right?
And he was telling us, he's just like, forget basketball. I'm just like, you're Kobe. No one's ever forget basketball. He's like, no. He's like, I want to be known like these next 20 years. I want to be known for what I do these next 20 years, not the last 20 years. So he was adamant about basketball was, yes, I am who I am and I did what I did, but wait till you see what I'm about to do on this business side. And I wholeheartedly believed it. I mean, he was, he had a fund and he was writing books and he was winning awards for content. And I have no doubt with the mindset because, as athletes, we're disciplined to handle our business. And I've been blessed to now, instead of getting up at 6 a.m. to go hit the track of the weight room, I get up at 6 a.m. and get on an email. You know what I mean? So I just think our natural discipline to be great in something, if you apply yourself, is there. And, that was something that I learned from him. It's just like, just take that same discipline that you had in sports and apply it to the business world and you'll be fine.
Yeah. He doesn't flinch, right?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
One of the very few.
Pretty much. What did you think when he didn't flinch?
That he's crazy just like me.
Did you ever ask him why he didn't flinch? Or
what's understood doesn't have to be explained. I just knew he was wired different, just kind of like I was.
Wired different. Matt Barnes here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, all the smoke every Thursday, correct?
Yep.
And how do you liken, the world of punditry on ESPN, where you're just chopping it up?
It's fun. I mean, I just, my goal right now is to be on as many quality platforms as possible.
That's one.
Until I find one that just will wipe the rest of them out, with my ultimate plan of, either doing daytime talk or mainstream media. So in the meantime, I'm having a blast doing ESPN. Thankful to be there. NBC Bay Area with the Kings.
Yeah.
Showtime with All the Smoke.
Right.
And ESPN. So it's been fun, man, to ever think that, I was a role player. There was no qualms. I wasn't trying to be a star, wasn't a star. I was a role player. But the ability that I've had to move post-career, you would think that I was an 8-time All-Star and one of those guys. And I just think because I've been authentic, I've been myself, I've been real, and I try to speak the truth for the most part. And that's gotten me a long way post-career. It'll be 6 years in June since I've been done.
Damn. Unbelievable. So before I let you go, just a couple of more paparazzi questions, I guess. Who's your MVP?
Embiid.
You did not stutter. Oh, you. By the way, TJ, who he's the Clipper Sixer fan of this organization.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I feel the same way too.
I don't disagree with what Giannis said. I think about 2 weeks ago that he felt like he should be the MVP of the last 5 years. I don't disagree because I think there's a handful of guys every year. I think Embiid could have won, and this is all due respect with Joker, could have won either one of the last 2 MVPs. So I think there's a handful of guys that can always be in that mix, but they're all European or foreign players now that are kind of dominating these big awards. But I just think Embiid's ability, not only on the offensive end, but his ability to change shots and rebound and block shots on the defensive end, he's incredible. I would have loved to see him play when it was a center league. When I first came in the league in the early 2000s, the rule was it had to go inside out. Like, you could never just come down the floor and shoot a three-point shot.
Right.
That wasn't the game. It had to go inside out. I would have loved to see how he faced up night in, night out against Shaqs and David Robinsons and Tim Duncans and, Elijah Wans and those kind of guys, because I feel like his skill set is up there. Yeah. And I just would like to see night to night bump against those kind of guys. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been great. He is kind of like that throwback when you think about that. And I guess Wembanyama is going to come very soon and add his name from the foreigner mix coming in.
He's going to have to gain some weight. But, I love that this guy's shooting one-legged three-point shots, and he's 7
and
foot.
And following that video of him following up his three?
Incredible. I just love the growth of the game has been tremendous, and I think that the purists hate that there's no defense, but I think the game has grown because it's so offensive oriented now, and that's fun to see. You don't want to see Detroit lock someone up and the final score 92-89. You want to see fireworks.
My 12-year-old, for his birthday, we took him and a bunch of his friends to a game. It was the Clippers-Kings game.
Oh, the highest-scoring game in history.
That went into double overtime, and if you've never seen a 12-year-old happy,
nothing like it.
Wait till they go into double overtime for a game that's going to end like 178, 174. I mean, and that was wild. That was an unbelievable night. So I guess last one for you is what would you do, Matt Barnes, to fix the back-to-back sit-downs and the load management and anything like that? Because, again, some kids, Cleveland Cavalier fans, for instance, Luka, Steph, Kawhi, all got load managed in their one trips to Cleveland.
That's tough.
So I'm just throwing it out there. Is there a fix to this?
The only thing I could think is shorten the season. But then that would shorten money and that would shorten TV. Like, just saying that sounds logical, but there's a lot that goes into play. But it's unfortunate. It's a different game, and people get mad at it. You can get mad at it. I mean, I remember playing in the league. It was a badge of honor to play 82 plus the playoffs.
Well, then I guess that my question for you would be, because right now it does seem like the players are begging out, hey, got to manage my load. But isn't it just somebody in August and September coming up with looking at the schedule saying these are the days that they're going to sit, come heck or high water, they're going to sit? Isn't that?
I never thought of that. That could.
That's what I'm
just
thinking.
Heads up, cities that we're coming to, we're not going to. That would be. That's fair.
That's what I'm hearing. That these decisions are not made.
Fair.
Like it's not like Clay or Kawhi is coming and saying, you know what. You need to manage my load.
Most of the time,
tonight.
Most of the time, it's out of their hands with all the low technology that they're doing.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you thank Pop for this. He started doing this with San Antonio.
He's the father of load management.
Yeah, he started doing it with San Antonio when it was getting. I mean, his team knew his team was coming to an end of a run, so he wanted to make sure that they were as fresh as they could be for the playoffs. But then on the flip side, you look at it. As much as we wanted to see Kawhi this year, Kawhi's been the best player in the playoffs this year. In my opinion.
That's right.
He's averaging like 35 a game. He's making KD's life hell every single night. Like, the payoff for the organization, I understand now. You know what I mean? If you're going to be able to come out and give me that kind of effort every single night, you're playing over 40 minutes a night, I guess we just got to wait till the playoffs to see our guys play.
I guess their answer, because I have been complaining about that for much of the season, the answer would be, well, even – the load managing might have cost us being a top 4 seed. But guess who's got home court advantage right now in that actual series Clippers. For the rest? That's right.
I was trying to tell you that in November, Rich, but you ain't want to listen to me. But
I
now
listen
I got
to
Matt Barnes on the side.
No,
So
I hear you.
It's tough because, like you said, Rich,
you weren't listening.
because obviously, the price of a ticket has gone up, and you're in some of these smaller cities where to see Steph play, to see LeBron play, to see KD play, Luka play will make your year. And they come and you find out the day of, after you paid $700 for 3 people to go to the game, that your favorite player's not playing. So I completely get that side, and not to bring up Kobe again, but that was Kobe's thing. He's just like, I never know this could be this kid's only chance to see me play. I remember him clear as day saying that. So it's just a different game, unfortunately, from a fan standpoint. But then on the flip side, you see the business side, and these guys are making a ton of money, and the most important thing in the year is the playoffs. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, Matt. I was thrilled to hear that you were in town and coming in because I know you're all over the place. It's been too long.
Yeah, come out whenever you need me. I'm back.
Serious.
I want to get. I want to get out there and putt with you guys one day. If you're doing a golf segment, let me know. I got my golf. Together now.
Okay, we got it. Absolutely. I'm willing to have you as much as you're willing to be had.
Sounds good.
And then again. I don't know if it was Steven Jackson who said you should come on.
Well, you're hearing it from me now, and I want to say I think we're shooting in LA again in May.
Happy to do it.
So we'll connect numbers and make it happen.
Let's do it. If you had white chocolate, you might as well have a white marshmallow on.
They go hand in hand.
What's wrong with you?
I like to think so. It's all one big fun dessert. Congrats on everything going on with
Thank you.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.